my best to weave it in. Before we begin, I just need to remind everybody, any disclosures, if and where applicable, you can find those on our conference website or our firm website. So, Moshe or Yair, I think the best place to start is just the overall health of the aesthetics market and the performance you put up year to date. I mean, the biggest debate across all of my sectors is, the health of the cash pay market in a choppy, macroeconomic environment. But you put up really good results in the Q2, Q3. So maybe just talk about what the trends you're seeing in the business and how you want investors to think about the end of the year.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Well, I have to say that so far we don't feel any slowdown and any recession yet. At least until the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, we feel the same momentum that we had over the year and in 2021. So it might because we are in a momentum with a new product and with new technology, and the recession or the slowdown will not affect us. I don't know what will happen in 2023, but we are basically collecting information from 80 countries that we're selling to. We're selling in 80 countries to see where we will see some kind of effect of the recession or the slowdown. And we'll be much smarter at the end of the year when we put the budget for 2023. But again, so far, as far as we're concerned and ourselves, we don't see any recession. We don't see any recession or any slowdown from a doctor point of view who are buying the equipment from us, but also from the patient point of view, because the numbers of disposable that we're selling, and we're selling disposable per treatment, is not coming down. Actually, they are growing quarter over quarter, and especially in the fourth quarter, which is the strongest one for us.
And then let's transition to the other major topic that's going on. Is we've seen inflation and supply chain issues pop up everywhere. You obviously have a lot of electrical components in your technologies, but you've managed your delivery timelines, and obviously it has not impacted your ability to grow. So maybe just talk about how, if at all, you've seen impacts or pressures on the supply chain, and if you've been able to, how you've offset them, and kind of overall pricing trends you see within the market.
Good. Okay, supply chain. Supply chain is an issue, and and I'll give you some examples. When we order a component. We ordered 2 years ago a component, and the suppliers promised 4 weeks delivery. It was 4 weeks delivery. Today, when they promise 4 weeks delivery, they mean that it's 16 weeks delivery. So how to overcome it? We did 2 things. First, now we have 3 different suppliers on almost every component that we need in order to manufacture the product. And second, we keep safety inventory. We keep safety inventory for almost any major component, any major sub-assembly, where the main reason for that is we want to have the production line in Israel up and running all the time. We made a promise to the customers that we will supply any order within 10 days of having the order, even when the supply chain of component is not in the best condition, I would say. And we managed to mitigate that. And until now, with all the issues of the supply, shipping, transportation, etc., we managed to keep all the production line running and to supply every order within 10 days. We know that some of our competitors in the same area are giving delivery time on their product, delivery time of 4 to 6 months. We believe that if this is the case, we will lose business. So far, we didn't lose any business, and we do not intend to lose business in the future.
And then from an FX component, we've seen rates move. There's been a lot of volatility from an FX perspective. It's been a big headwind to some of the larger multinational players. You've got a lot of exposure. So maybe do you have any hedging programs in place, or have you felt any exposure this year? And how do we think about next year?
Yes, good question. Actually, we do not have a high exposure to FX. Almost 80% of our revenue is coming from US dollar. And in US dollar. So at this point, we don't see a need for any hedging activities, but of course we continue to monitor the situation. I know other companies are talking about constant currency. If we will look at constant currency, we can definitely add $2 to $3 million every quarter in Q2 and Q3 to our top line. But again, we had such a successful quarter, we didn't see any need to do that, to even mention that.
So good growth, but if you reported the way everybody else did, you got even better growth.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing, right? Yeah. And then Spiro, obviously you bring a different perspective just because you're a practicing clinician, you interact with a lot of your peers, you're here in New York. Maybe just talk about what you're seeing from a market perspective. I mean, the company continues to over-deliver relative to expectations, but what are you seeing from a patient demand and just with your talking to your peers?
So I think what's important is to differentiate between what everyone thought was a COVID bump and why it's a sustained run. A number of patients practices are still busy across the country, and we haven't seen a decline in demand. And I attribute that part of it is that 30% of new patients coming in have never had plastic surgery done before. That's a change. So what COVID did, Zoom, whatever phenomenon you want to call it, that's increased the market of people actually having procedures done. And we're seeing that in the offices. And the second thing is, this is the first time where we really see a difference in our machines being bought, not sold. In other words, their doctors calling your office, calling up 4 machines, 4 equipment. Why? Because they're getting an average about 10 to 15 calls a week for procedures. Specifically, as Morpheus is the biggest driver for that. So that's also been sort of a shift to that effect. Going back to 2008 and 2009, because that's sort of the only thing we can compare to recession back then. Back then, at 2008, 2009, if you had a procedure that you could do in the office, around a $5,000 price point, you'd be okay. You'd weather the recession just fine because those procedures don't go away. The large procedures of $30,000 facelifts, $20,000 tongue-tucks, all that was decreasing, of course. So if you're positioned with our equipment to do minimally invasive stuff in the office, you're going to be fine, and the doctors already know that. So, and they see that demand. So kind of that's what we're looking at right now.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about some of the new products in the pipeline. And before we talk about specific products, I just want to maybe, Moshe or Spiro, if you could just frame it for us, because you've talked about moving into, outside just like what we'll call the core market of plastic surgery into more of a medical wellness. Or maybe just help us understand what that means and what kind of opportunities that presents.
Sure. Okay.
It's really important to say the fine. Thank you for bringing that up, Kyle. It's a great question. We're still an aesthetics company. We're not going to go off half-cocked and do some medical stuff. It's not the reason we're here. Wellness is important, but our goal is to increase the TAM. And the biggest criticism is, can we get past that ceiling? Like all the other companies have in the past. So how do we get past that ceiling? By going to doctors like gynecologists and say, look, you already have an existing patient population that actually suffers from stress urinary incontinence, right? You don't have to market that. It's already in your practice. So by holding their hand and treating those problems, our devices have everything else on that device is aesthetics. So we're introducing aesthetics to those practices, which would have never been before, and it takes away the fear factor. And that's what we're doing with, as well with ophthalmology we're going to be doing, and that's sort of the strategy. Having said that, we also are investing very heavily in getting those procedures, those medical procedures, to be successful, right? So we want to use the model of patients will pay for cash, pays procedure, if they're getting at least 80-90% result. That's the truth for aesthetics, and we're bringing that model to the wellness area that we are operating in. So.
Yeah, okay. Look at our competitors like Luminous, Kyocera, Cynosure, Candela. They stuck with one technology, which is the laser technology. That's what they know how to do. And all the applications that they have developed are within how to treat the skin topically. They cannot go deep because optical energy cannot go deep. So when you look at all those companies, they reach a ceiling of $300 million and they stuck there. The only way to open this or to break the glass ceiling is what Spiro said, to go into a new medical community. With a new medical community where we can develop a platform using our technology, one indication will be specific for each medical community, and the other will be some other, aesthetic. For example, ophthalmologists, dry eye, which is specialty, periorbital wrinkles, aesthetic, full face rejuvenation, aesthetic. So the doctor can benefit from the system and from the platforms much more than just having one indication. That's the idea behind going into wellness.
Great. No, I think that provides a great foundation to talk about the pipeline here. And I want to start on Empower. Empower RF has been a great launch. You started coming into the year, I think guidance was for $20 million contribution. After the second quarter, you increased that to a $30 million contribution. After the third quarter, you increased that to a $40 million contribution this year. But it's really, beyond that, it's your return to the women's health market. So help us just understand what's the state of the women's health market. What are physicians and patients looking for, and how has it evolved over the course of the last several years since your previous technology, Votiva, was really out there?
So I don't think we ever left. That's the answer, the short answer. Back in 2018, when everyone got a letter with the FDA warning everybody, we have a letter too, but our letter was not to stop treatments. Our letter was, you can't use the word vaginal rejuvenation in marketing. That was it. Our Votiva device was safe. We never had any issues with it. So instead of running away or shutting down or whatever the other companies did in that field, we actually doubled down on our research, doubled down on everything, and that's how we come out 3 years later with that device. Why? Because medical wellness, female health center, sector is not going to go away, and we have real problems to deal with. What we did differently is instead of looking at, for example, stress urinary incontinence, the FDA says you have to have 50% results in 6 months, right? That's a very low barrier, and we don't think patients will pay cash for that. We had to get those results up to 75%, after 1 year, patients are dry, in order for us to launch the device and get results from it. And that's why you're seeing the sales go the way they are, because simply our technology works, and that's the feedback we're getting back. Now, having said that, we're also touching on overactive bladder. Like the majority of our results are mixed urinary incontinence, and that's very, very interesting because, as you know, OAB is a $5 billion market. So we think we do have the ability to disrupt that. That's why we're investing heavily in, getting indications, FDA, getting insurance reimbursement down the road. All that, we have that all on the route that we're doing it. But at the same time, we're making money from selling these procedures for cash base, which puts us in a very good position, and it's actually a luxury to do that. So we're approaching this holistically. We're very serious about it and we're going from top bottom, just like we do with plastic surgery. You're a gynecologist, gynecologist, urologist, and then everybody else. So what you're seeing with the numbers is our sales force actually being held back. We haven't launched it to all the low-hanging fruit to everybody. We've kept it very strict in the beginning to create adoption with those specialties.
And I think when I go back to the time of the IPO and when, before everybody got the letter, the whole industry got the letter, we kind of thought about it as like a $300 million-ish market. I know that it was, a healthy portion of your overall revenues then. Obviously, your revenues have grown considerably since then. But how should we think about what this type of platform can be from a percentage of mix perspective over the medium term? If I look at like hands-free at one point was, mid 20, 30% of overall revenues at the company. It's now coming in a little bit as you're launching new products, which we'll talk about. But how should we think about what a new system like Empower can be from a revenue perspective?
From a revenue perspective, $40 million in the first year when we launched the system, I believe we were surprised too. But it means that the market was in a vacuum. Since 2018, when the FDA sent a letter and stopped everybody from selling laser equipment for vaginal treatment, the market did not, the unmet need was there. And therefore, when we came up with the Empower, which basically has 4 different modalities, SUI, pelvic floor restoration, labiaplasty, and others together in one platform, we realize that this is exactly what the market needs, and this is what the patient needs. So I'm sure you know that before the letter was sent to the laser companies, there were about, I would say, close to 5,000 systems which were sold laser equipment for vaginal treatment. I believe all of those laser equipment might be possible or might be potential to be replaced with Empower, which is a huge market. It's more than, it's not $300 million. It's probably more than that. Only Cynosure, how much they sold? $100 million. Right. Over $100 million in one product and one handpiece. So the potential of the Empower, it's more than just the potential of a platform. It's a completely new era for gynecologists. It's a completely new era for aesthetic gynecology and wellness for women health.
Yeah, I mean, just when I think about, I think you have what, 14 to 15,000 systems globally right now. If you were to launch another, take another 5,000, I think that would be considered a big success. But just want to make sure we're clear. The $40 million we're talking about this year, that's only in the U.S. You're just starting to move into the international market. So it is not just going deeper in the U.S. It's also expanding globally, right?
Yeah. We basically intend to take the Empower to Latin America. We just made a new congress. We participated in a new congress in Mexico. We brought our main luminary doctor, Dr. Miki Karam, to give a lecture there. We're starting hopefully we'll get the approval in Brazil soon, and we'll bring this product to Brazil. We started to do in certain countries in Europe, not having the full regulation yet, but we're working on it, and also in certain countries in Asia. So the $40 million, I would say more than 90% of it is only from the United States, and we're getting now the approval in Canada, so it will be rolled out in Canada as well. So in 2023, hopefully we'll have regulation of this product in other countries as well, and the market will be expanded.
So let's transition to Envision. That's the ophthalmology platform. I think it soft launched middle of this year in Canada. Where are we at from a contribution there, and when do you expect to come to the U.S. market? And just remind us what specifically you're targeting within ophthalmology.
Well, the Envision will come to the United States sometime in the middle of 2023. And the reason for that is we want to get a full indication from the FDA, which we're working on it, either on the IPL side or on the RF side. At least one indication will be approved by the FDA for dry eye, and we're working on it. We have a study which will be published sometime at the end of this year or beginning of next year. It's already approved in Canada. We will introduce this platform in Europe sometime in the beginning of next year during the Inca show in Paris. So 2023 will be the rollout year for Envision.
Okay. And then in hands-free, we touched on some of the more newer wellness-focused products, but so let's go back to the hands-free. I mean, that's been a big platform for the company. It came at a perfect time right before COVID. But you're bringing new products to the market, upgrades to the technologies. So where just maybe describe what those upgrades are, and then kind of when we should expect the next generation product to start really impacting.
We have two products on the market right now: the Evolve for body and the Evoke for the face. We upgraded the Evoke during 2022. In the middle of 2022, we added another modality, which is a combination of RF and EMS, which is called the Transform. And basically we launched it in the United States, and now we're launching it in the other part of the world. We always launch first in the United States. The Evoke, which is the hand-free for face, we had some issue with this device, especially with the way mounted on the face, the helmet. We have improved that and added another energy. So in the last quarter, we basically stopped selling Evoke. So we didn't want to sell old Evoke when the new one is coming early next year. Hopefully in Q1 2023, the new Evoke with the new helmet and one additional energy level will be launched. I believe that will be the new era for the hand-free for the face. I want to say something about the hand-free. The hand-free for us was always a complementary technology, was not a main technology. It's a hand-free, non-invasive, non-surgical. 85% of our business is surgical. So it's belong to the other. And in the hand-free, we do have some competition like BTL and others. We're not alone on the market. We thought that this is an important product for us, so we can be a one-stop shop to a doctor. We also make some laser. In order to be one-stop shop for a doctor, although laser is not our main technology. But hand-free will never be 50% or 30% of the product of our revenue. It will always be around 15 to 17% altogether.
Well, given the levels of growth in revenue you put up the last couple of years, 50 to 70% is still a big number. So it is important. Let's talk quickly about Morpheus. That's a real workhorse foundational platform for the company. It sounds like it's been a major driver. You've launched some really interesting technologies there. When I think about the multiple depths within one stamp in the body versus the hand. So where are you at now? With respect to the Morpheus 8 launch and just integrating that across all the systems globally?
Globally, Moshe can talk about it, but Morpheus itself, we're expanding on it. So that's a big driver, as you said. It's a standalone device, plus it's present on all the other platforms, and it's driving a lot of the sales of other platforms as well. We're going for indications for cellulite. We're going for acne indications for it. So we're really, doubling down on Morpheus and its capabilities. I think we're just at the surface of it because it's fractionating RF. It's not really RF microneedling. And that's the biggest differentiator because you're able to sort of heat block tissue, and that's really causing all the changes. And, the evidence is that doctors and patients love it, right? As far as marketing and branding is concerned, it's become its own name. It's become Kleenex. And, I'd love to say that we take credit of it and we spend tons of money on marketing, but we don't. Kim Kardashian talked about it. We did not pay her for it. Moshe did not give me the money for it. So the bottom line is, she's out there talking about her own because it works. We're very disciplined about our spend on marketing. We don't do these huge UGC campaigns. So whatever growth you're seeing in demand is really organic from the doctors themselves that like it. And why is that important? How do you prove that? Well, you see our disposables and you see how the adoption rate is going. And a big part of that is Morpheus. So for all those reasons, it's become, one of our lead products. And globally, Moshe can talk to you.
Oh, okay. So before we talk about it globally, I want to say that Morpheus for us, it's not a platform and not a handpiece. Morpheus for InMode is a technology. In any given time, we have at least 4 or 5 different R&D projects to improve the Morpheus, either clinical, performance, new tips, etc. For example, just last month we introduced another tip, which is body tip for the body, 40 pins, 3D, and basically we're treating all layers in a few pulses in one shot. We're going to do the same for the face with the 24 pins. We're going to do, we're currently running 4 different studies for 4 different indications: acne, hyperhidrosis, cellulite, laxity on the face, in order to get more indication. Morpheus for us, it's a big technology that we need to invest heavily all the time to improve the performance, the user friendliness, to bring it to different doctors and different physicians. From the international point of view, Morpheus today is known all over the world, not just in the United States. Already been launched in Canada, Europe, Latin America, Asia. We have close to, right now, 24 countries with the full regulation. We continue to invest in regulation, so it will go to all the countries. We're using it heavily. I can tell you that, for example, in the UK, 20% of the business or the revenue coming from Morpheus tips in any given quarter. So again, not just in the United States, Morpheus is becoming a brand name to minimally invasive ablative procedure for face and body.
So we're coming to the end here. I've got probably time for one more question. You've got a lot of cash on the balance sheet. It's a luxury given your business model, 85% gross margins. You're putting down 35 to 40% operating margins, and you've got great cash flow conversion. How do we think about capital allocation moving forward? I mean, when you're, I know I ask this question every call or every time we talk, but you're going to exit this year with close to $500 million on the balance sheet. You'll probably put up more next year, presumably. So what's the biggest priority now?
Yes, we're currently laying on $500 million in cash. We're generating close to $50 million in cash every quarter, over and above what we need for working capital, safety, inventory, capex, etc. Around $50 million every quarter, which is a lot of money. I mean, taking into consideration that we're growing about between 30 to 50% every year. This year we're growing of about $100 million compared to 2021. We will reach 450 or maybe above $450 million revenue with a net profit, with gross margin of 85%, but net of 50%. Which is not typical to medical aesthetic, to medical equipment and medical aesthetic. There are 3 alternatives what to do with the cash. Okay, one alternative, which we are being offered all the time: buy back your stock. Why don't you take all the money and buy back your stock? It will increase earnings per share, and maybe the value of the stock will go higher. I want to tell you that we did that. We spent $100 million buying back stock. It didn't have the stock. It did not have. Maybe for 1-2 days, and then the stock remained the way we are. Sometimes went down even further. Second, give dividend. But it's not typical for a company like us, with this high-tech company, high growth, high profitability, to give dividend. So the only other alternative that we have is to explore opportunities in the M&A. And we're doing it. Right now we're doing it. We're looking for something which will be synergetic to our business. Not exactly. We're not going to buy a laser company, for example, because laser is a commodity and we know how to make laser. We don't have to buy laser. But if we find something which is more oriented to plastic surgery, implant, fillers, or maybe other stuff, which will be complementary technology and will enable our sales team to go to the doctor and tell them, hey, we cover that product line as well. That's something that we will consider. We are seeing some companies right now at that given time. I cannot tell you that we're engaged in any term sheet or something yet, but it will come in 2023.
Great. Well, we are out of time. So thank you very much for the participation today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.